Hey guys, All in Crypto here. This is going to be a Bitcoin specific update. I did say that I was going to start covering Bitcoin specifically. Looking at the price action, and we're actually going to be looking at a tweet from Will Clement in this video. For anybody who doesn't know who Will Clement is, he's well worth a follow over on Twitter. A great source of information. He's essentially pulling something up here that is or has been a really good bottoming signal. And I'm going to address this because we've had plenty of bottoming signals really the whole way down in this move. We've had the long-term regression bands. We've had the 200 weekly moving average. I will show you all of them in this video to kind of, I mean, he's not calling a bottom here. He's just saying that this has typically been a good macro bottoming indicator. And the argument that I have for all of these bottoming indicators really is the fact that Bitcoin's never been in a time period like this before. Bitcoin was born in 2008. Something that we've stressed on this channel day in, day out is that, you know, markets really since 2008 have just gone up. They've always had the Fed behind them. They've had a bid. You know, we've not entered a recession. Bitcoin's never seen the environment that we are going into. And that leads me to be cautious. The big question you guys have got to be asking yourself is, does the reward outweigh the risk in regards to being an investor right now? And the answer for me is quite simply no. You guys can make your own decision. Maybe the bottom is in. At the end of the day, guys, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know with 100% certainty whether the bottom is in or it isn't. But I believe that the probabilities of the bottom not being in, when you look at the whole picture, we got how 2022 was going to end or start wrong. You know, if you go on my Twitter, okay, look, we started to get out this market around about 44K. We were very late to the party, in actual fact. We weren't the first. We're not the best. That's not what I'm claiming. But what I am claiming is that, you know, we're really taking everything into consideration now, trying to be informed investors and not just, you know, looking at on-chain and kind of using that as a benchmark, because many different bottoming indicators have already failed, and I think that's going to continue to be the case. And where Bitcoin is right now, currently coming up and hitting its head at 23K, I think it's a matter of time before we see another rollover for Bitcoin and the wider crypto market. I think this is macro-driven. For me, and I've said this on many videos, I feel like I'm just waiting for that Lehman's moment. I want to start things off with the monthly chart, and we're going to go right down the time frames, probably to the 4-hourly. May not bother with the hourly, unless anybody's interested in day trading. You know, I am actively looking for shorts in this market, something that I speak about with my Patreons. For anybody that's interested in joining my Patreon, there is a link in the description. It's really investment focused, but trading is a part of it, and we, you know, have altcoins that we're looking to accumulate, etc., etc. But there is a link for that in the description. So I want to really start on the monthly. And I want to pay attention to the volume here. This is not impressive volume. So what would I want to see for this to be a bottom? I'd want to see a lot of volume coming in, which would indicate to me that you have potentially institutional players or big players actually starting to accumulate Bitcoin here. Just like they do at every bottom. Typically, it's retail that gets stuck at the top, and it's institutions that will get in at a good, significantly low point. We know we're seeing the stock market rally. I'm going to cover all this in my daily cryptocurrency market update, not my Bitcoin specific one later on today. But I'd want to see a lot of volume coming in here. And we just have not seen it, which doesn't give me a lot of confidence that you've got the big players needed involved to sustain this rally. We've spoken about a number of indicators. We're not going to look at the demand index. We're going to look at the RSI, which very much confirms on the monthly time frame this downtrend. You're making, other than the divergence that you had around 64K, which should, looking back, hindsight is always 2020, giving you a huge warning that 64K was not going to be a sustainable push higher. Your strength of the market has just been continuing to make lower highs and lower lows. That's in confluence really with the price, which leads me to believe that this downward rally is very much intact. Your money flow index, which is monitoring the money flow into markets, is doing a similar thing. It's seeing lower lows and lower highs along with the price. Look at your accumulate and distribute index. Very much confluence. You can see your lower, you have a high, you have a lower low, you have a lower high, and so on and so forth. You know, this is very much, in my opinion, an intact downtrend. quickly we'll talk about the open interest. Your open interest since really October has gone up. And what has the price done? It's gone down. Whilst open interest is going up, that shows you again another confirmation that your trend is still very much intact. Let's drop down to the weekly now, guys. You know, what do you need to see? So first of all, some bullish divergences would be good. We'll hide the demand index for now because it's not what we're talking about. But again, on the weekly, no divergences really here taking place. Very much an intact downtrend, in my opinion. And there's no reason, given all the risk on the table right now, for me to suggest that this is going to do a 180 and you know, flip round and we're going to enter this long sustained bull market. What drives bull markets, or what drove the last one? Okay, the halving is an element of it, but the halving is becoming more and more drowned out. It's always going to play a role in regards to the fact that Bitcoin's supply gets cut in half every 4 years. But, you know, what's going to drive this next rally? Well, this was really driven from March 2020 onwards by huge amounts of liquidity that was pumped into all markets as a result of the Fed's actions. We are in an opposite environment to that which led to the kind of explosive gains that we saw. So I think the opposite is going to happen, essentially, until we see that pivot. Markets are almost acting at the moment like the pivot has already taken place. I think they're going to keep their foot on the turkey's neck for a lot longer this time. I really do. I think they're kind of going to have to. I think there's a lot more going on than just them, you know, trying to support the economy. Right now, the actual dollar itself is in question. What has the dollar been doing whilst Bitcoin's been doing this rally? Remember, Bitcoin USD. Let's take a quick look. Dollar's actually been pulling back. So Bitcoin's been going up. I'll overlay the charts very quickly for you. What's Bitcoin been doing? Bitcoin's been going up around about the same time that the dollar's been going down. What happens when this does a 180 and turns? Because I believe it will. I think, you know, the dollar ran some pretty significant and key levels in regards to parity with the euro. If you look at the FX market and study it, you'll get a lot of the answers over there. But back to Bitcoin, you know, let's drop down to the daily, see if there's anything that we can kind of see down here. I'll pull up the draws that we did on our last one. And really we'll drop down. You know, one thing that we said with this 24K range was you actually never closed above it. So for me to go, okay, right, we're holding this range. We're now going to look to take this one and come up towards here. You'd need to see some sort of a hold of this. And then you've got a lot of hot air up here. So a squeeze could definitely take place. I think that this rally is largely driven by a technical relief rally. People are getting behind it. Traders are trading it. I think you had a lot of shorts that were getting squeezed that were typically, you know, shorts, lots of retail shorts always come in late. They've been squeezed to the upside, become forced buyers. You've seen, with the price actually going up, you've seen some pretty nasty pullbacks on open interest, which leads me to believe this. Look at open interest in correlation with Bitcoin price. You'll see that, you know, if you look, when we're talking about Bitcoin, it's really the futures market that actually drives the price. We can get into derivatives at another point, but I want to drop down to the 4 hourly, which makes this a lot more simple where we currently are. These are some of the levels that we drew out for you. We showed you where all the volume was, with not much volume actually at the top here. There is an elevated amount right at this sort of top level here, which really shows a battle going on. If you've got an elevated amount of volume, but the price isn't going up, it's staying stagnant, it shows a battle taking place. And so far, since you've had that kind of run in volume, the price has come down. You're between these two key areas here, divergence. You're also holding off this bottom area that we drew in the last Bitcoin update that we did, and you're bouncing along in it. Currently, you're now struggling to get back above your 23K mark. So again, right now in regards to a trade setup, all we're doing is going literally nice round number to nice round number. Below 23K, we look for the short. Above it, holding above it, you look for the long. That's simple. And that sounds like a cop-out in regards to TA, because basically I'm saying it could go up, it could go down. Long term, when I say long term, I'm talking about the next 6 months, the next 3 to 6 months. I think this market continues to sell off. I think we've got too much risk on the table to suspect otherwise. Again, I feel like we're just waiting for a Lehman's moment. We're waiting for them to blame somebody for the recession that we're already in, that they're not calling a recession. We're waiting for somebody to blame for the labor market. You know, we're looking for, and I'm talking really about the US government here and governments around the world, for somebody to blame for a potential further capitulation and event to take place that they can kind of blame the downturn on, even though the Fed inherently with what they're doing is causing the downturn. Jerome Powell, remember, it's very important to pay attention to what he says, has openly came out and admitted this time and time again, that he is actively trying to bring demand in line with supply. Supply is low, it's been restricted, so he needs to bring demand down. How is he doing that? Well, he's hurting the consumers through interest rate hikes. He's hurting businesses through that. Not to mention, we've got two evils going on now with inflation, which is hurting a lot of people when you talk about, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in my daily video, crypto market video. You've got high inflation. You've also got basically high interest rate hikes, so restrictive monetary policy, and we're moving very much into that restrictive territory. Just to bring this Puell multiple and talk about it a little bit, you know, this is from Will, like I say, and he's not calling a bottom here. He's just basically showing you, and this is what you need to realize. You know, he's not making calls here. He's just saying, look, this has been a good bottoming signal. So you had November 2011. You had January 2015. You had November 2018. You had May 2020, and you had July 2022. You can see it's called bottoms pretty well. And he's essentially saying the Puell multiple remains one of the most reliable macro bottoming signals for Bitcoin. This is likely because it's deeply rooted in first principles. Think around miner profitability. Miners are getting to that level where they're actually now becoming slightly unprofitable. So you guys know the score. We've spoke about the price. I just want to make a comment on bottoming indicators because the majority have been wrong. So we won't use the 30 moving average. We'll use the 200 instead. This was also a very good bottoming indicator. You can see we've held it beautifully and it actually goes further back. We broke it. We're now consolidating around it. The question is, do we now fall it again, and does it now become resistance? Does it act in a similar way? And we've spoke about this as well on this channel, to what the Nasdaq, the Nasdaq 200 moving average does in kind of 2008, 2000, the 2000s. And do we see that slam down below it? So this was a great bottoming indicator. I'll show you another one that we actually spoke about. I've actually got it posted on my... This is the linear regression band, which is something that we looked at. And we've looked at a lot, essentially. You know, we've really spoke about how this has been a good bottoming indicator. We spoke about when we were at that midpoint. And look, guys, last time we were here, it's sort of further... We were calling this up here before you had this big spill. We'll take this off. We'll remove the draws. You can see how this actually acted as a perfect bottoming indicator, typically. And typically right now, you should be going, okay, well, we should be buying here. But the problem that you've got is you're not actually reclaiming it. Do you then roll below it? And does this change? You know, at one point, you'd have been going up, you know, in a different fashion. This would look different until you broke it, and then it will adjust. So don't think that bottoming indicators are... or historical bottoming indicators that look at price action over the past, you know, Bitcoin's history are going to apply to the kind of environment that we're in, because there's just simply different forces at work here, guys. And you've got to remember it's all supply and demand driven, and so on and so forth. So I don't think bottoming indicators really have much of a... And people are really wanting this to be the bottom. And listen, if it is, it is. You know, we still have exposure to crypto. We'll have to get back in once the market's shown us that this is a bottom. But as of yet, it's not shown us anything. And again, what's the risk to reward? Right now, the risk far outweighs the reward, in my opinion, in regards to being an investor. I don't think that bottoming indicators, and there's been many of them the whole way down here, are going to prove worthy. All I've got for you in this video, guys, it was just a short and sweet Bitcoin update video. Hopefully you've enjoyed the content. If you have, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment. Be sure to go and check out my Twitter. And also, yeah, make sure you give this video a like and sub to this channel. So let me know also if you like these Bitcoin update specific videos, because we'll keep them coming. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.